Welcome, esports fans, to the final day of the regular season here for the PCS Summer 2021. I am Pyrotechnics. He is Clement Chu, and we have got not 6, but 7 games on our hand today, as we will be playing out the postponed one. Before we get into all of that, I would like to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors. You can see them at the bottom of your screen. They are CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and our newest kid on the block, Caliber. Thank you so much for making the PCS possible. Clement, how the heck are you doing? You ready to close out the regular split or what?
Oh, this is all that we could have possibly asked for. We have 2 teams still struggling to get into postseason, potential for 5 tiebreakers happening tomorrow, and then we also have 1 team in PSG trying to chase down immortality by achieving the first flawless split in the PCS ever done. So there's a lot of storylines riding on today. I can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. But before we get into our regularly scheduled games, as mentioned, we do have to play out the game that was unfortunately not able to be played yesterday due to the ongoing typhoon situation. Again, hope everybody, if you are in the area, staying safe as well. But we will be seeing J-Team facing off against Boom, and this one actually has some big implications for tiebreak scenarios as well. J-Team are currently fighting for a 4th seed. If they lose this game, no matter what happens, they will be locked into a 5th place position because nobody below them can catch them, and they won't have enough games in hand to catch up to Boom. So this one's pretty important for J-Team on the seeding game.
Yeah, it does look like J-Team themselves are kind of on an island in terms of the standings. If you look at Boom, they're at 11 wins, J-Team at 9, and then the guys below them are at 6. So if they want to catch up, they have to play 3 games today, and they essentially have to win all 3 to avoid a tiebreaker situation with Boom Esports, guarantee that they move on as a 4th seed. And that's very important because as a 4th seed, you do get the upper side of the bracket, and you also get side selection. So that is essentially what they're playing for here from J-Teams. You don't really want to be a gatekeeper. You don't really want to be on your own in the 5th place spot. It feels a bit lonely if that ends up being the case.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at our starting lineup for J-Team. Rest, Hana, Mission, Lilvi, and Woody. You know, and thinking back to when these teams last played, it was such a long time ago, it seems. Yeah. Back in week 1, and it was honestly a crushing victory for J-Team. This was before Boom had really found their footing. We were still seeing Ruby on the likes of the Vlad. It didn't really work out that time around. And Mission just absolutely popped off on the LeBlanc pick. I want to see what happens in this game, in the rematch, because Boom have become a very different team in the intervening days.
They certainly have. They've been able to take down Beyond Gaming. They have strong performances against PSG. But I think the same gist of the matchup will stay relatively the same, where J-Team is trying to outpace Boom Esports, essentially. Boom, again, a very slow team, while J-Team can be much more lane dominant, can go for the more heavy tempo picks like the LeBlanc that we've seen them do the first time around.
Yeah, for J-Team, that tends to work out better against lower ranked opponents, but Boom, currently above them in the standings, they are Rocky, Holo, Ruby, Wako, and Pop. Holo will be starting today. The last time they met, it was actually Alex in the starting lineup, but this team has certainly flexed a lot in the jungle position, and it seems like it's worked out well for them.
Yeah, I do think that Holo is starting to become their go-to starter position. Overall, his stats are a lot better, and it does seem like he has much more efficient pathing, much better connection with the rest of his team to get things done. And I do expect them to run Holo mainly throughout the entire playoffs. I think this is, a great storyline, someone who is coming in behind Alex in terms of experience, but still showing that he is definitely worth that spot here. So, I'm pretty happy that he's made it here. For Boom Esports in general, though, there's a lot of different matches that I feel like they need to go through. In terms of team fighting and in terms of getting engages, I actually take them over J-Team, but that laning phase hurdle is quite a big block to get over.
Yeah, we'll take a look at our featured matchup between the two. And I think laning phase hurdle definitely starts to come a little bit more into focus when you look at the performances of the two junglers. Hana just a little bit edging out Holo in pretty much every category, except the first blood participation. He's a little bit more of a facilitator. He sets his team up for success, and he's not always involved in those first kills. But later on in the game, that story changes.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting things that we've seen from these two teams. J-Team, as we have mentioned, they can go very aggressive early game, but it mainly is around the top side and not really about the mid jungle at all. That's why you see the first blood participation quite low for Hana. A lot of their early kills actually just come from solos in terms of Ress's performance. On the other hand, Holo, for me, he really has been a standout player. Having 75% first blood participation is insanely nutty. It's hard to overstate how crazy that is for a team. That basically means everything is tied down to him. So we'll see if he can get out on the map early. We've seen great things from him on the Lee Sin. On JT's end, very interesting. We kind of get a sense of how the plates have shifted here as we see J-Team themselves taking out LeBlanc against Ruby, who, you know, in the second half of the split has been a lot better on this champion.
Yeah, both mid laners actually had some great games on that champion, but Ruby really found his footing on it when he was forced out of the comfort zone of the early Vladimir. J-Team, we'll get a quick lock into the Syndra mission. Has been a champion coming back to prominence with the advent of patch 11.15, reverting some nerfs there. So now we have a few more control mages and Mission clearly more comfortable on that style of champion.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the patch right now, I think you have to expect Gwen to come out. This champion is huge for both these top laners. The meta really does revolve around this one, and right off the bat, you see the dichotomy we were talking about. J-Team on the one side, I think the strategy coming into this is pretty clear. Against Boom Esports, which is the slowest team in the PCS, they average over 34 minutes of game time. You just want to go in early, you want to go in hard and just blow them up. While Boom Esports, they're definitely setting up for, I think, a bit of a later game strategy. You can tell right off the bat that Diana pick, it's not going to be impacting the lanes as much as something like Lee Sin, which is kind of Hana's best champion so far this split.
Yeah, I think it's certainly in the wheelhouse, comfortable for both these players, but Holo certainly much more preferring that Diana to try and dish out the damage and get to that later stage carry. We've seen a number of these teams really start to pop off on it. J-Team, though, are going to take some time, and they will in the end lock in the Trundle. Now, we have seen that flex, but not on J-Team. That's pretty much been a Hana exclusive.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. It does tell me that they're likely going to go for something that is a little bit more poke focused. If you're just talking about in terms of early game pressure and all that, I still favor the Lee Sin over the Trundle. The Trundle is a much better 1v1 duelist, but I think there are a lot more downsides to Trundle. It doesn't farm as fast. The enemy has to have a tank for you to actually use your subjugate very well. So I think mainly they are setting themselves up to poke, and we are seeing that in the Jace coming out as well.
Right.
The pillar does force members on the enemy team to kind of coalesce together and make those skill shots a bit easier to land. On the other hand, Boom Esports, this is super interesting because we actually have not seen the Arella come out from their side at all. So this is going to be a debut.
And I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like this is possible to play in a couple of different lanes here. But it does feel like a much more Rocky-oriented champion, but they know what both the matchups are going to be in the solo lanes. And they can play their cards close to the vest here until the final pick.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think it's very risky to run it into the top lane. If I'm coaching, I preferably actually want to see this one mid. I feel like that one has a little bit more power with the Diana coming in. But given that they're Boom Esports and given that Ruby's more control mage, Rocky's more the fighter, I do think this one's probably going to top lane in the very end, and they're saving a pick for Ruby later on. As we see J-Team now just taking away some of those wombo combos we've seen, going for the defensive pick in the Braum. So they're kind of reading Boom Esports as a 1-3-1 composition and trying to take away side lane pressure.
Not only that, trying to take away anything that can stop some of the incessant poke that they've got coming out there. And let's see what Boom end up getting the lock in. A couple of cheeky flashes there. We've seen so many teams just flash the action. He is not available, but always love to see it. And that's going to be the Leona lock-in. No huge surprises there. Probably the most played support in the PCS summer.
For sure here. And as for J-Team, there's no chance this is an Urgot, because like Jace is most likely going into the top side. They have to pick up their bottom lane here. They could still have a jungle pick, but yeah, this is much more closer to what I expect out of them. Rakan's also a really nice champion here.
Yeah, like I mean, they could just do whatever they need. I mean, it's rare we actually see both the Phelios and Thresh kind of going all the way through without being banned, without being picked up. But J-Team get a nice, easy pickup to round out their composition for Lilith V and Woody. And it's a Yasuo comp. Oh, we didn't even talk about this one. but the knockup potential with the Diana certainly helps out. Not the biggest wombo of combos, but there's a lot of power there too.
Yeah, this is the comp that everyone has been gravitating toward. PSG, J-Team, Liab, they all go for this comp. And frankly, there hasn't been a lot of good answers. What this comp is so good at, and I think we especially saw in yesterday's game between Liab and Punity, is it has such great pick potential, and the burst is so high that oftentimes, even when you're in a 5v5 standoff, you can just kill one target and then snowball the rest of the team fight. It's very easy to do. I feel like it's actually, it has a lot of margin for error in this composition, and we just haven't seen a good answer come out from anyone. Like, the Mordekaiser is probably the best thing we've seen come out to counter this Wombo combo comp, but everything else has been a little bit slow. And frankly, I think J-Team is running another one of those compositions that can just be blown up. If you look at the champion, Jace, Aphelios, Thresh, there's a lot of different champions that don't really have a lot of tankiness.
No, and I love that this just it feels so signature Boom, right? Like, it's a very scrappy composition. It relies on, just going all in and trying to force some of those fights. Boom have won some of their games by just, taking those straight up 5v5s when their opponents don't want them, or even when it might be a bit of a coin flip, but they trust that they'll be able to get the kills. And I think if we do get into, a serious skirmish situation, I really like Boom's chances here. For J-Team, it also kind of feels pretty on brand for them. They're going to try to get that pressure out early and win the lanes to snowball the game. But I feel like Boom are going to give them hell here, Clement.
Yeah, I think so as well. If I'm looking at the draft, J-Team for me, they have to stay ahead the entire time. They cannot fall behind. As for Boom Esports, there's a lot of different ways that these combos can just work. We've seen Diana just basically be unstoppable when she's trying to reach the back line. A lot of people have tried, but it's very hard to get away from the Rocket Belt, the Flash, and then the Moonfall. Like, she just has way too many dashes to make that happen. And then you also have the Solar Flare coming down. You have the Vanguard's Edge to help that happen as well. So I see Boom Esports, they are going to get their due. They will get that Wombo combo off no matter what happens in the game. And it's just about how much damage control that J-Team can do beforehand. I feel like J-Team, this draft for me, they had a great top side, but then I'm not sure about the bottom side. The bottom side is actually pretty slow. It's not expected to win out the lane against Varus, and you have to play tempo from 1 to 5 to keep down this comp from Boom. So I feel like they pulled back a little and went for insurance on the last 2 picks when they really should have went all in.
Yeah, now that you mention it, it is a little bit interesting that it kind of doesn't vibe as much with the composition. They could have matched range really easily. They could have kept a poke. I think Ashe was up. Yep. They really could have done a lot of that. But, what can you do? We'll see if J-Team can pull it off. As a reminder for the stakes, J-Team need to win this game if they want to contest for the 4th seed. And for Boom Esports, still in the hunt for the 2nd seed and the bye in the first round of playoffs. They would need a lot to go right for that to happen. But it would start here. And speaking of, something went a little bit wrong because we've got ourselves some sepia tones as we get a pause to start off this game.
Yeah, they're, we are playing through some pretty rough weather here on the island.
Just a little bit.
Things are expected to go a little bit haywire, but I hope everyone still has the patience to stay with us here, and I think we can kind of review the splits that we have seen from these 2 teams. And we've talked about J-Team at the start of their year. They were super happy. They got Mission. They basically proclaimed on their social media that we are 2nd place. There's nothing that's going to stop us. And it's a little bit, disappointing for J-Team to still end up in this 5th spot with Boom Esports ahead of them, with Beyond Gaming ahead of them, and with Machi, who they took Mission away from, still ahead of them as well. So I think looking back at this split, it really is about J-Team and I think Mission's legacy. I really think this guy, what he's been able to accomplish in the PCS and earlier on in the LMS, a lot of it is on the line to prove that he can actually be an improvement to the squad. When J-Team actually was playing Nesty, they were 1st place in 2020. So, this is really kind of a vote on Mission here as we see a bit of a cheeky level 1 to be expected here. Rest is going to get quite a sizable lead against this Aurelia.
Yeah, on the flip side too, I think for Boom, this is, kind of a team that I think kind of, as far as J-Team and a lot of the other squads of the PCS are concerned, really came out of nowhere. Nice cheeky stop. Rest just denying Rocky from even safely backing away. This is going to be a real rough start in that top side. He can't even back.
Yeah, and he might be forced to actually burn his TP here. I don't think he wanted to go back anyway, to be absolutely honest. You know, just skipping this wave and burning TP early is so detrimental, but it's great play from JT coming out.
Look at Hana.
Definitely what we've been talking about, just top lane focus early.
Yeah, Rocky is actually opting not to go for a back, but he's going to be forced to very soon. Hana actually goes to start off and take away the red buff top side, as he knew that Holo was going to be bottom, which means should get a little bit of a 90-degree rotation of the jungle.
Yep, we are going to have essentially verticals, and I do think this favors J-Team quite a lot. When you're playing a vertical jungle style, the team that can actually do tower dives is definitely the one that benefits. Because on the flip side, you have Diana, and I don't really see how Diana is actually going to gank Aphelios Thresh early on. There's not a lot of threat for J-Team on their side where they're overloaded, but there will be a lot of threat on Rocky, especially after he burns this TP, which means that they just get a kill on him. The laning phase is over. Like, he has to walk back the lane, he's most likely going to miss a wave. So great ideas from J-Team, and honestly just a great two-man execution to force that much away from Rocky. I will say, though, Rocky actually played the level 1 pretty well. He's like, if I'm going back, I might as well take some HP off the rest. He did manage to do that. But now I think what is going to happen if you look at the map is that there's a very high chance he's actually going to get zoned out of his wave. His wave is shoving into Rest. This is purposeful by Rest. He is letting the wave push into him. Do not look at the CS score and think that Rocky is actually winning. He's getting set up.
Yeah, that's a real big wave about to crash. Although, ooh, Rocky getting a little aggro, has a level advantage because he has been getting the farm out. But you got to be careful. Hana could be coming up there anytime. Holo is actually in the mix, but this Diana won't have as much effectiveness until we get to that level 6 mark. And in fact, I think he was just going to help out Holo maybe secure that Scuttle Crab, but they saw that they were spotted by the Scryer's Bloom.
Really nice play actually coming out from Boom Esports. I like the play that they were doing right there. On the top side, I feel like Rest should have been able to get a sticky wave going, as Wako has to burn his cleanse instantly.
Very early. They actually go in. Want to take down Woody to get first blood here. Pop going to flash forward to follow. He's burning, but Lilvi is actually able to body block very well. And J-Team's bottom side has been pretty solid in this game. They were pushing their opposite numbers in for a bit.
Yeah, and they actually get a pretty good summoner trade out of that. 3-for-1 on their side. As Woody does over-aggress a little bit, but isn't punished for it in the very end. And now Hana...
It's all a bait, but Woody and Lilvi are coming to the rescue as well. So is Mission, and even Ruby wanted to get in the mix, but it's going to start with first blood over to Hana, taking down Pop, and J-Team just scrapping it out here with the likes of Boom Esports and getting the better of them. There's a Scout of the Week and a triple kill. Hana's got so much gold in his pocket.
Yeah, that was a very odd sequence from Boom Esports. They were actually trying to sandwich Hana, but J-Team did not back. J-Team were actually just in the vicinity there, so this is, I think, Woody just out mind gaming them. They probably thought that Woody had gone back to base in order to try something like that. If you look at the map, Yasuo was actually just chased off to the left side of his own lane, so he wasn't really coming into this one on time either. And they all just stand around the double buff Trundle and just get chomped down. So, you know, if I'm looking at this play, I definitely think the main catalyst for this one is Boom Esports just thinking Woody must have backed.
Yeah, and it's J-Team just, you know, playing a little smarter with information. It was just kind of like a series of baits back and forth. Now, Wako and Pop are actually going to try and answer something on the bottom, but in comes the lane gank. Hana, oh, they just get the root up onto Pop. He has absolutely nowhere to go. He's trying to walk away. You can't get out of the pillar range. And the hook, it's the freest hook of all time. And Lil V will claim a kill for himself. A little help from Hana on that lane. J-Team really off to a flying start.
Yeah, this is honestly just so surprising. You don't really expect the bot lane to be the one coming out this far ahead. I thought this game was going to be much more about the solo lanes. But Boom Esports, they kind of just opted into that fight. Let's be honest. That fight was set up by Boom Esports. They wanted to make a trap. And J-Team basically said, sure, if you guys want to handshake this essentially 4v3 with your bot lane having no sums, let's do it. Let's roll. And Boom Esports kind of walked themselves into a whole heap of trouble. I don't think this was really necessary from Boom Esports. I feel like they could have held on and just waited for their level 6s. That's usually how you want to play this composition. But they got a little bit antsy.
Yeah, it's kind of strange considering, you know, it should be pretty obvious that the whole J-Team strategy was to try and roll ahead in lane and you know, they could have just backed away. They didn't have to go for the trade, but instead they find themselves in a bit of a deficit. J-Team using that tempo to also secure up the first dragon of the game. It is a mountain. And now Woody going on a bit of a roam, and it looks like maybe they're going to try to bait Rocky here. Woody's kind of been the mastermind of some of these early plays.
Definitely has been, and I have to say that I'm also really impressed with Rocky actually holding this lane very well here. As you can see, he's caught up in CS completely. I thought he was going to be forced into a sticky wave situation where the wave is so big that even when it reaches tower, it still stays on the enemy side of the map. But it looks like Rest actually went for some sort of a full clear, and it bounced back, allowing Rocky to get to level 6. And we have seen this just pan out in other matchups in other regions. When Aurelia hits 6, she actually has a lot of kill threat on the Jason.
Oh, yeah.
It's no longer a one-sided, basically poking matchup, and Rest is just going in.
Yeah, although Rocky actually whiffs a little bit, Rest gets the better of him and does get the hammer knockback. So nicely played there by the J-Team top laner.
Yeah, that's going to happen if Rocky misses 2 abilities there. You can see the HP trade wasn't even that far off, even with him missing 2 abilities. So that's this is kind of a trailer of what's to come in this 1v1 matchup. I like that we're seeing some help just going up for Hana right there. He's really going to be the center of gravity for J-Team going forward, I think, for the next 10 minutes into the game. Anywhere he is, J-Team is just going to win a 1v1 matchup. And I think with these items, he can actually survive pretty well the burst damage that Ruby and Diana can throw.
That was a really nice win wall from Ruby there. Before he got scattered, you could even see Woody sniffing up. But yeah, we talked about big gravity. Hana certainly drawing a lot of it himself as he is able to solo out the Rift Herald, and you know, just that's one of these things that Trundle can do, especially when he gets a little further ahead. Get the Dragon, get the Herald. Boom, can't really respond super safely to this. Meanwhile, Wako does manage to get a tower plate off bot side on the timing, so at least they're getting something for the troubles.
Do like this coming in from J-Team. They did roam the support up towards top side just to make sure that they were going to secure that objective.
Oh, here we go. Rocky going all in. Vanguard's Edge. Oh, big old knockaway. He follows on the Blade Surge and goes in for round 2. Rocky with the 1v1.
Yeah, this time he finally does get the abilities to go down, and even worse is that Hana is not on the right side of the map. This is just a straight up 4v2 if Holo can find the Moonfall.
I don't think they need it. They could just chase him off tower. I'm sure they would have liked to get the kills, but at the same time, perfectly okay. Rocky trying to mind game out Hana. He just stays a little too long here, and he's going to lose his life as he blaze surges into the minion wave.
No, he chomps a minion? What? Come
on, I can't
Hana,
believe he actually missed on that one. Oh, is he really going to get away? No, he could not.
Oh.
The flash was not there. All right, let's see how this 1v1 play happened again, though, because it was a beautiful TKO by Rocky.
Yeah, I feel like Rest was actually going a little bit low on mana, and that's the critical play right there. It actually uses abilities on a minion, so Rest knows he doesn't have the cooldowns. He's going to go down to this one. He did a great job before just dodging out on the flawless duets multiple times, and that's a huge reason he took the phase rush in this matchup. But honestly, Rocky just cheesed him, and Rest did not have the mental agility to save his cooldowns then. He was probably still in wave clearing mode, got shocked by the Aurelia, accidentally used an ability, and that was pretty one-sided after that play. However, yeah. I will say that judging by the map of Boom Esports, you could see that they did not expect Hana to be there. They thought that Hana was on the bottom side of the map. That's why they did not tower dive, and that's also why Rocky just straight up died. So Boom Esports actually missing out on a pretty big opportunity. I think 100% if they knew that Hana was on the top side, they just tower dive. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, and sometimes you just don't have the information. You got to be a little cautious. I mean, Hana, he gets a very early Divine Sunderer off of the kills he's already been able to pick up, and just 100% participation in all of these kills. Now, J-Team will look to make a play for bottom side to secure tower number 1 as the Rift Herald has been popped, and that's a lot of damage being dealt. Lovi actually well within tower range. Ooh, and they will pop in. Holo is here to defend, so this won't be first brick, but it was a little bit of a close call there for the Boom bot side.
Yeah, that could have been very dangerous, especially with Hana with Subjugate. That actually does a lot of damage to tanky champions like Leona. You can get them to, you actually can go all the way to negative armor.
He's not done.
And here
Hana wants
he goes
to dive.
Again.
Oh boy, there's no minions to work with. I don't think they're going to be able to pull that one off, but yeah. At the moment, just controlling the bottom side helps Hana to another dragon. This will be the Ocean. He's pretty much just been a one-man objective machine.
Well, there is no stopping him right now. Honestly, if Holo and Ruby go against him, like there is some chance that Hana can take him down 1v2. I'm not even kidding.
It's not safe. He's a big old troll right now.
Yeah, and you know, we could seeing this actually get out of control, especially with the bot side roaming as well. I love what BME Sports is doing here just to go for the dive.
Oh, and that's going to be the flash into the Moonfall, but it's not enough damage. Rocky actually missed on the flawless duet, and Rest just hits him with the Team OPM.
Oh, Rest has been so on point with this phase rush, just diving back and forth and getting out of these abilities. He made Rocky miss a point-blank Vanguard's edge. That's very difficult to do. Just walks out of the ultimate like a boss, and that's just going to give the tempo back to J-Team. They now have their bot lane in the top side. Even though Rocky might have a CS lead, he can't stay here anymore.
Oh, yeah. Woody and Hana just able to freely roam through this jungle. It's going to be a little bit rough for Boom. They're going to have to hold on for a while as the pace is being accelerated by J-Team, already knocking down the tower bottom, and they will be able to finish this one up top. Not too many more waves, you have to think. Rocky may want to consider going to a different lane.
Yeah. He's still made his way towards the top side, but at this point, you can tell that he's just going straight for the jungle. He knows that there's nothing much he could do here. And I just expect J-Team to keep up this setting. They just want to starve Rocky of resources until at least the Jace can sort of catch up here. I love what Boom Esports is doing on the flip side, though. They are setting up for another potential 4v2 dive and just making sure that at least one of their members is going to come out ahead. Ruby, free time on the tower. It's basically an acceleration game between can Aphelios reach that 200-year status, or is Ruby and Rocky going to get there first?
Yeah, got to keep an eye on the Boom members to be able to pull that one off. We're already starting to see some of the items come in to complete, but J-Team really keen on keeping themselves in the lead and accelerating this gold lead right now at about 2,000. Respectable, not huge, but they're going to try to keep it rolling on the objectives and just forcing Rocky from even trying to contest here. He will be able to start clearing waves with that Blade Surge, but yeah, he's going to need some backup. You can see Holo and Pop are there, not too far in the jungle, and it's a pretty big amount of pressure that J-Team are putting out in that top side.
Yeah, and even though the J-Team does still have the gold lead, I think this is the point where you really see the difference between acceleration of solo lanes compared to acceleration of AD carries. AD carries actually take a very long time to get online, as Mission gets a little cheeky play right there. So even though Aphelios has a lot of gold here, if Boom Esports get their Wombo combo, I don't even think the gold difference matters. I actually think in a straight-up Herald fight, if Boom Esports find their target, they will still wipe the entire team fight. And you can tell that Lil V here, he is very cognizant of the fact that his job is actually to just dive, to get out of the range of these abilities. And he's not going for the Immortal Shield Bow, he's just going straight for Gale Force to get a little bit extra range between himself and Holo.
Try to play it a little more defensively. He knows what his job is going to be in this game. Okay, Rocky. He's had a little bit of a tough go. That early level 1 cheese, managing to get the outplay onto Rest, but struggling against the phase rush fast-footedness of Rest. Now it's a bait game. Holo doesn't know that he was standing on a ward, however, the Thresh Box comes in, instantly exhausted, going for that Moonfall protection, staying alive for a little while, trying to buy time for the rest of the team to come in and turn it up, but Hana gets the Lantern, and he is out easily, and the trap is going to close once again. As Mission comes around the side, they actually get the root off, and Pop, he's going to go down too.
Hana way too tanky at this point. Pop's a subjugate, doesn't even have to flash out. He stays alive the entire time, and unfortunately for Boom Esports, they are not using their ultimates in unison.
Trying to go for Rest, though. Ooh, flash away, and he's just too fast. You can't catch the Jace.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I felt like Boom Esports, they really needed that last breath to be there if they were going to start that engage on the other hand. Of course, it was more of a disengaged situation coming out from them. But without the last breath there, they don't really have the damage right now, and they can't really lock anyone down. Like, even with Lil V having some very glaring mechanical issues in that fight, where he just dust waved backwards, they still won. Like that's how one-sided that fight actually came.
Even Shelly wanted to get in on the action. I like how Mission is able to come around the side, follow up here, and that means they can secure not just one, but 2 members of Boom. Pop knows he's a dead man. He goes in for the Zenith play, the honorable finish. Now there's going to be another Rift Herald pop, this time in the mid lane. I think JT might just use this as a distraction to try and secure the Cloud Dragon uncontested. And this would be Cloud Soul at 17 minutes. No, they're actually going to force their way up mid. Or Cloud Soul point, rather.
Yep, I do think they want to put a little bit more damage on this team composition, and you can see in the silence right now, Ruby was spotted on the top side. They know they have a numbers advantage, so just trying to find a little bit of damage. There's no real rush here. The enemy team's not going to be contesting this one, and they know Ruby doesn't have a TP, so they're pretty happy to just make sure the Scuttle gets the full value here before going back. And I think we are starting to get to that point where it's becoming a little bit hard for Boom Esports to actually get their damage off. I think the critical point now is for Ruby to get second items, because you do have that 100% crit chance after 2 items on the Yasuo, and that's where this composition really starts to hit its zenith. Unfortunately, that's still a ways off, and J-Team should feel pretty safe at this moment to keep on pushing.
J-Team are well aware of the timing on the power spike, right? And they know that Ruby's not quite there yet. He's going to side lane for a little bit, but this is a bit of a dangerous mission. You can see J-Team are kind of all top side at the moment, and yeah, he's just going to try backing in the lane. Should be able to get out in time. Minion's not going to target him, but, you know, it already seems like Boom, they're trying to just keep J-Team at bay, but it's getting harder and harder to do. J-Team are just very strong at the moment. The gold lead maybe doesn't look as crazy because it's not a whole lot more than it was 5, maybe 6, 7 minutes ago, but the Dragon lead's compounding, the power spikes, the items that J-Team have been at, they're just looking so much better, and they're playing their composition the exact way they need to.
Yeah, and if you look at this build coming out from Lil V, I actually really like the Collector when you have a Trundle on the team. So you just hit one target, take away all his resistances, the lethality does extra damage, and you can just one-shot someone so easily with this team composition. You also do have the Scatter the Weak and the Power Unleash to do the same thing. So J-Team, very interesting enough, they actually have a very good pick composition in this scenario. If they land one crowd control, they can instantly blow off a target. And I think that target is going to be Aurelia. That's the only source of sustained damage really on the side of Boom Esports. So, you know, if they focus fire correctly, it's hard to see how Boom Esports can carry a fight from start to finish.
Well, Hana is such a bully, man. He just walks right up, takes the red buff, full view of Ruby, and just like, what are you going to do about it? I got levels on you, and I got smite. Well, not levels on Ruby, I suppose, but still. Throwing their weight around here. Rocky is flanking at the moment, but I think he's spotted. There was some... those were boom pings, so maybe not.
Yeah, I think Rocky really wants the gauntlet before he comes into these fights going into it. Ruby taking a lot of damage, and I do want to point out that it's been 19 minutes into the game before Holo got his mythic. That's extremely slow for
yeah,
and that's why
Holo's
you haven't seen any action.
He's been held at bay for sure. I mean, they've also been really fast on the exhaust as well. I think Woody has been really good at every time he sees Holo coming into the face of one of his carries, just slams that down really easily. Ruby on side lane duty at the moment, just trying to pick up as much gold as he can to complete that second item. Boomer just holding on. But, you know, this is also, it's worth reminding everybody, this is the team that has the longest game time in the PCS. Not for nothing. An average of 35 minutes as out of the brushes comes Rocky. Rest is trying to stay alive and walk through it, and he actually will get away with a good knockback. Rocky didn't have enough time to get the flash in and follow him.
It was really well played by Rez. He actually held on to the knockback after he got his phase rush, so it was easier for him to position that one. Didn't use it at the start of the team fight. If I'm getting a jump scare, I'm probably just throwing that ability out, but of course he waited until the resets were actually used from the Blade Surge to get that one off, and does walk away alive. But we can't see how much of a side lane problem this is becoming for J-Team, and it's not going to get any better. So I do want to see Boom Esports actually just play around this strong lane in Aurelia. It's pretty hard for her to actually go down. You do see her going for the Gore Drinker. It's a little less protection against burst damage, but a lot better in terms of the side lanes here that we're seeing from Rocky.
Yeah, and I think they're making the calculated decision that you know, J-Team are going to try to force the 1-3-1 play for as long as they can. If it isn't a 5v5, regardless of itemization, it should still favor Boom a little bit. Rocky does throw out the flawless duet. He actually flashes the hook. Exhaust is down. J-Team just want him, and Mission will claim him. That is going to be enough. Meanwhile, let's see if there's an answer from the rest of Boom Esports, as that gang squad came in fast. No, they just go a little deep into the jungle and try to put some vision down. Pop nearly runs face first into them.
Yeah, Pop does have the flash, but it's still very
Dear.
dangerous. Wow, what a great kill.
He's caught. Absolutely stuck between terrain. Box doesn't land. That's a bit of a whoopsie, but I don't think they're going to worry too much about it.
Oh, come on, Woody. You can't follow up. When Hana's having a great game and then Woody follows up like that, oh, that's kind of sad to see. But good catch. It doesn't matter. That pick on Rocky is super important. He is going to guarantee them a 5v4 on this Drake. Rocky is actually 1 second behind the respawn timer. He has to burn his TP just to get here, but I don't even think that's going to be enough.
I think they might force the fight regardless. Actually, J-Team, they pull off for just a second, but great scout of the week prevents Pop from coming in. This one should get smited. Holo is going to go in for the smite fight, steals it away, and the hesitation from J-Team bites them in the behind. Now can Boom Esports get out of there safely? They do get a root down onto Hana, but he is such a tanky target. Got to be careful, and they realize they're not going to want this fight to follow through. Rest goes in and takes down Holo by himself. The turnaround of the Vanguard's edge. Rocky trying to dash and dice his way through. Not going to be enough as Mission will take him down. Into the last breath goes the Yasuo, but Ruby, he takes Woody with him. At what cost, you have to think? It is going to be a 3 for 2. Make that 4 as Lil V combos up with Hana and Mission to finish the job.
Hana is the Troll King. Who is Troll King? I am Troll King, says Hana, as he just bumps his way throughout the entire team here. Now, I will say on this setup, this was pretty poorly done by J-Team, in all honesty. They had a 7-second lead at the minimum on this Cloud Drake, but they actually sent Lil V alone to clear him. So, this setup was actually atrocious from J-Team. However, the ensuing team fight was great. I did not see that play coming out from Rest. Going over the wall into a 1v4 to get the slowdown on everyone and just pop the ultimate away from Holo, that was massive. Great target selection right there from Rest. That was an incredibly 200 IQ play. He gets the slow, makes sure there's no wombo combo, easy cleanup from J-Team, and guarantees his team the Baron. So, still kind of a questionable start. Great finish.
I like how at the very end, like all the damage is put down by the chomp from Hana and Mission, and then Lil V just comes in and just pew, snipes the kill. But yeah, J-Team doing fantastic right now. They don't get Cloud Soul, but they do pick up the Baron buff off the back of that excellent team fight, extend their gold lead to about 5,500 as well, and while on their way to pushing in here, and Boom, it's going to be on them trying to hang on. Man, Hana has just been everywhere on this map this game. Like, all 12 kills he's had a hand in. As here comes the TP from Ruby to try and go for a flank here. J-Team sniffed this out immediately, and it comes to nothing.
Yeah, Ruby is coming in with the 100% crit, and if they actually found that engaging, it would have been a 5v4, but unfortunately, the positioning there just wasn't very favorable.
Oh, Zenith Blade whiff from Pop. Can't find Hana. Oh, man, it just all the carries. Everybody but Rocky pretty much has just sort of been delayed and shut down this game, and as a result, J-Team gonna go in. That's gonna be the combo they're looking for. They don't quite have the damage as Holo has to go into stasis. Fresh Box slowing him down just a little bit. Hana around the side. Ruby kind of caught between both Rest and Hana. They do get out, only losing their Diana, but I think that's gonna be enough to continue the push for J-Team.
Yeah, it does look like they're just going to be putting the finishing touches on this one. Boom Esports, they get their wombo combo, but Lil V with very quick fingers is able to get out and also gets help from the Wake here coming in as Boom Esports
Pop wants it again. Wako, he isn't sure about this one. Pop really trying to make it happen, but that was not a commitment that the rest of his team was willing to follow up on. Doesn't look like they'll continue to push Wako a little bit too low to do anything about it anyways. And J-Team break into the base and walk away scot-free.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird coming out from Pop, but we'll see this fight again. And I think the key thing here to remember is, like, even though they do get this one, look how fast that Mission is actually able to disengage. And I think this is the problem coming into this fight. With Mission there, you kind of have to target Mission. And the problem is he also has Zonk. So there's no real good target to pick off anymore. The Scatter of the Weak is a great disengage option coming in. They just take him out of the fight immediately, and then Pop just goes way in over his head. The rest of his team is not even trying to contest this one at that point.
Well, speaking of contesting, I don't know if Boom started that one or J-Team did, but J-Team is certainly going to finish this one as Pop flashes the wall and Lil V is able to snipe him down. Bottom lane gone. J-Team just got to wait for the minion wave, and Ruby was just way out on the side lanes. Boom can see that second place contention slipping away from them, but J-Team, they might well be able to contest for the 4th seed after all.
Yeah, if Boom Esports lose here, they don't have a chance to catch up to Beyond or Machi anymore, and they will just have to be content with their current positioning. And they also have to think at the back of their mind that J-Team could just be catching up onto them. Last base defense, last hurrah for Boom Esports and their chances in postseason for seeding. Oh, they can't even find a chance into the team.
Yeah, just one knock-up on Hana. That's not going to do it. He's just so darn tanky. The early game, J-Team snowballed this so effectively, and you can see them just slowly unable to find a whole lot of anything. Vanguard's edge goes down. Lil V is able to stay inside of it without too much trouble. Pop going in on the Zenith play, but the rest of his team just isn't there anymore. And you can see that Boom, they're just not all together. And J-Team, as a 5-man squad, looking to put this game away, get themselves that much closer to trying to contest for that 4th seed. Woody goes fishing on the hook, finds Ruby. Windwall stops him. And they're just waiting. They don't need to take the time. A little far forward is Rest, but he's still strong enough. Rocky into the back line looking for one. He can't even find Lil V. And that was the last-ditch effort, but it will be the last breath. I have to think here for Boom Esports as J-Team now in a 5v3 situation will go towards the Nexus. One more hook in. Wako trying to hang in, but he gets instantly deleted. Padding those stats just a little bit, and that will be GG. J-Team still in the hunt.
And Hana flashes in the Nick Young here, and that was it. This is, for me, a bit of a weird game. I didn't really expect the course of events to happen here. Essentially what happened is Boom Esports, they actually went all in before they got any of their Wombo combo pieces online. Hana picked up an early triple kill and was able to dictate the tempo for the rest of the entire early game. And not even that, he just held Holo down so far behind. It's really rare to see a Diana get a Rocket Belt at 19 minutes in the game. That's usually like about 8 minutes later than it's supposed to happen. So,
you know, it's crazy. We have kind of like it coming full circle, Clement, because the last time these teams met way back in week 1, it was also a Diana that got completely neutralized, only it was Alex piloting it. So J-Team go 2 for 2 up against the likes of Boom Esports and knock them out of contention for 2nd place. But J-Team, they got a lot of games in hand still. They could, in theory, overtake Boom if the latter don't beat Machi later today.
Yeah, and just to mention that in the PCS, in terms of our tiebreaker decisions, even if you get a 2-0 over another team, it doesn't mean you automatically get the higher seed. It just means you get side selection. So if that does happen...
A lot of tiebreakers.
Yeah. So, you know, the 2-0 isn't actually going to hurt Boom Esports that much. J-Team, though, they keep their chances alive, and I think Machi and Beyond Gaming are overjoyed that J-Team were able to take at least one other team out of contention.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't get a chance at that crazy 3-way tiebreaker up at the top, but it could still be ties if Machi and Beyond Gaming both get wins today. We'll have to see. Definitely keep an eye on it, as Machi are going to be actually playing Boom a little bit later on. You know, the picture starts to clear up. You know, coming into today, we have so many possibilities, so many possible tiebreak scenarios, and, you know, even the number of teams, or the team specifically in the playoffs, isn't quite locked up yet. You know, Liab's still hunting for it. It's just so exciting to see how it's all going to fold out. But J-Team did a great job at playing very much a game that they held onto from minute 1. Maybe taking advantage of some unforced errors by the likes of Boom Esports. I think, you know, it really did start getting out of control there after Holo picked up the early 3 kills. But, you know, they never let up on the gas pedal, and they were able to keep Boom on the back foot the entire time, all the way to the Nexus.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like this game was more of a showcase how Boom Esports is not really a team that understands how to pick up early game tempo. They typically do just rely on scaling and wait until Rocky is getting really fed, which to be fair, I think Rocky has done a great job this split at just being that silent split pusher. But in terms of playing wombo combos where you do have to use every opportunity you get, especially to snowball those teamfight wins into objectives, BME Esports just isn't there yet. This is not a composition.
Look at that Diana damage. Oh, that feels bad, man. He almost got out damaged by the Leona.
Yeah, this is... I don't think that BME Esports is going to be running this comp all that much, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like they are much better off running something like the Aphelios and probably just like a Victor in the mid lane, going for more of a 1-4 strategy with Holo just trying to keep them from falling behind rather than accelerating the pace. I think maybe that's a better role for Holo here as...
No surprises.
No
100% kill participation.
Oh my God.
A KDA. Technically, it's a KDA of infinite. You can't divide by 0, but a 20. Just pretend there's a 1 there in the death column, then the math works out. But Hana, I mean, yeah, he was the Troll King. Absolutely.
This game was a great showcase of what Hana can do on a great day for him. I feel like Hana has been a guy that just he protects his lane most of the time. He doesn't go for super aggressive plays, but when he gets that opportunity, when BME Esports are the ones that opt into it, then he's pretty happy to just pick that one up and say, yeah, I'll roll with it. Why not? Totally fine. And just kills.
He did a great job on objectives that game and really controlling the pace of the map. So absolutely congratulations to Hana and the likes of J-Team as they are still in the hunt for the 4th place. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we return, PSG try to complete the perfect split against Brajaya Dragons. You won't want to miss it.